Thank you, Hubert, for the introduction. And hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for coming. This is an amazing conference, and I'm truly honored to be a part of it. And can I get like a raise of hands? How many of you are individual contributors or ICs? Basically, you don't manage other people or you're not a manager. Just raise your hands. How many, just to get an idea. Okay. And how many of you all think that you're able to influence your teammates, stakeholders in like difficult situations or even drive product decisions very easily? Oh, okay. Wow. Nice. So this is exactly what I'm going to be talking about. Even if you're a manager or an IC, doesn't matter. You're always influencing your team. You're always influencing your stakeholders. You're influencing upwards. And that is why influencing without authority is something that everyone needs to understand and practice in order to succeed in their current role. But first, who am I and why am I talking about this topic? So I'm Rahul. I'm currently based out of San Francisco. And I've been in the UX industry for around 10 years now, almost a decade. And I roughly started my career working with startups, then moved to work at IDEO for some time, and then moved to work at big tech, starting with Google, where I worked on Google Drive, Google Meet, and Gmail. And then from last year, I moved to Netflix, where I'm focused on the intersection of ads and entertainment. And that's where I spend most of my time on. Outside of my full-time job, I'm also mentored almost 100 people, more than 100 people now. And I love reading books and love to take courses on leadership, influence, and areas like this. So I want to start with a quick story. I was, like a couple of years back, I joined a new company, very excited, got the offer letter, wanted to get into the role, get started building features, working on different products, and be a part of a design team, basically, be a part of like a team which ships product. But as soon as I joined, I realized there is no PM support on the team, there is no product manager, and engineers are building things on their own, so there is no product direction, it's just ad hoc that they're trying to build products. And I joined the team, and I realized none of my ideas were taken seriously, and I always felt that I was left out of the conversations. And I'm guessing a lot of the new folks who join companies out of school also kind of face similar situations where they're already having the imposter syndrome, but then they also kind of get into these situations where you don't have the support that you need. So I reach out to my manager, and I ask them, thinking that I sound very smart, and I tell them, how do I influence the team? How do I grow my influence as a designer? And I thought they would give me like a magic bullet or some kind of like a solution which would solve all my problems and just make me like part of the team, and then all my ideas would be taken more seriously. But that didn't happen. So the response I got from them was this: just do what's best for the company. And at that time, I thought it sounds a bit vague. It's very general. I don't know what's best for the company. I'm a designer. I just do like design work. And although it could be a great advice, but at that point, I didn't understand what it means. It took me some years to realize what they meant was doing what's best for the company means stop being caged by your own role and start looking at the bigger picture. That was very revealing for me because I was good at doing the design work, but influencing team, managing other people, managing expectations, managing upwards is a lot of the communication related things that I was struggling at that point. And I realized that staying in your current role, this is also something that you always have to do as a designer. And that kind of brings me to my topic, and that's how I got interested into this area as well of influencing without authority and what it is, basically. So influencing without authority means the ability to influence, ability to influence decisions, actions, or opinions without having a formal power or control over situations or individuals. So see the underline, which is without having formal power. So if you're a manager, you already have people reporting to you, so you can get things done by asking them, and most likely they will do it. But a lot of times you're working with stakeholders, you're working with different people who you don't have formal control over. They're either your peers or your leaders or your stakeholders. So how do you get things done in that kind of a situation? And you might be asking, like, I'm myself an introvert. Why should I cultivate this skill? Why is this important? Why should I even think about influencing? I'm good at the design work that I do. But even if you're not a manager, it is your responsibility to make sure that the decisions get made. And to a certain degree, you have to be able to influence the team in the right direction. And I'll give you like 3 reasons why this is super important. First is to grow your impact as a designer. So right now, if you join a new team as a junior designer, you have a certain impact that you have within the team environment. But as you want to grow in your career, as you want to scale your impact, you have to move from impacting your team level decisions to your org level decisions, your company level decisions, and maybe even industry level decisions. So if you want to grow your impact as a designer, you have to think about influencing. The second is getting into leadership roles. So the people who can influence right now are the people who are chosen to be leaders tomorrow, right? So if you already show that ability to do that in your current role, you get chosen by the leaders in your team to do that in future as well. And if you look at some of the compensation or even the scale of the growth in companies like Amazon, this is what you can see in US. There's like a exponential growth from where you start as a junior designer to if you grow in your career and go to a more of a leadership position, or go even as an IC if you grow your career as in different levels. Another reason is avoid feeling stuck or unheard. If no one wants to be in that situation where you propose some ideas and then no one is able to move that forward. You're not able to get other people's rallied across. And we are all hired to do our work, right? We know our skills. We know we're good at that. But if you want to contribute to the success of the company, you want to feel that you're not being heard or you're not feeling stuck. So if you want to do that, then influencing is definitely something you need. Look at the 3 examples here. Even like taking a step out of our product-specific or design-specific context, influencing something is something that is required for everyone outside work as well. So if you see in the context of Mahatma Gandhi, who fought against colonialism, or Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who fought against racism at that time. And also, if you look at some of the current examples, like Greta Thunberg, who's advocating for climate change and also getting political leaders across the world rallied across and making that changes in the policies, is definitely they need influence in their work as well to make sure that what they want happens. So coming to back to influence, these are the 3 pillars that I've come across with in my research, and I'll be going through each of them one by one. So let's start with credibility. So credibility refers to being convincing and trusted, allowing your ideas and opinions to carry more weight and impact. Credibility is something which is not a static thing, right? You have different credibility, different groups, different people, and you want to make sure that you build on that and grow that quality in your career. 2 prompts that I would want you to think about. What gives me credibility with other people? What are some of your superpowers? Or what are some of the skills that people think that you're good at? And what detracts you from your credibility? Are there anything that you're doing that kind of takes away your credibility? Is there some behaviors that is stopping you from going to the next level? Think of these 2 prompts in your context and your basically your area that you're working on. I'll start with some of the ideas of how can you implement some of the like how do you build your credibility, and it really starts with knowing yourself and knowing your superpowers. What are you good at? What is something that you can do which other people might take more time to do? The first is think about how people describe you and what kind of value you bring. Like every company has some kind of 360 reviews or like feedback cycle or like a yearly feedback review. Look at those. Go back into history. See what have people written about you. Try to take notes of that. A lot of times we don't know what we're good at, but other people can see it and they kind of recognize that. So even if you don't know what you're good at, take a look at those. It could be that you're good at user research, you could be good at A/B testing or some competitive analysis. So try to find out what are your strengths. Second, reflect on patterns from your past successes. What is something that has carried you in difficult situations? It could be things like you're good at managing risk, you're good at managing different stakeholders, or you're good at organizing design sprints or things like that. So see what you have done in the past that has helped you and try to build on that. One thing that I have done in my past is create like a brag document. What this is basically every week I list down 3 or 4 things that I had an impact on or I accomplished. And it could be simple things like I helped onboard a new person on the team, or I conducted a user journey session, or I mentored someone on the team. So try to create these, and over the time you'll see how this document grows and what kind of impact you are seeing that you have made in the last year or last month. And another thing to think about is how do you move from your comfort zone? As humans, we are designed to be in our comfort zone. We thrive in a comfort zone and we feel safe. But if you want to grow in your career, have more influence, you need to think about how do you outgrow that. So that really starts with getting into the fear zone, where you get affected by what people are saying, or you might feel demotivated or lack self-confidence. But if you really want to grow, you have to go through that phase where you might feel cringy about things as well. So start thinking about that, like how do you want to take it to the next level? And this is something everyone faces. If you start learning a new skill, everyone goes through this thinking I'm not good enough. Once you pass through this zone, you get into the learning zone where you're actually learning new skills, you're acquiring new ideas, you're learning to dealing with different people, and that's where the fun begins. Once you get into the learning zone, the growth zone becomes very apparent. And after getting into the growth zone, you are able to find your purpose, you are able to achieve the task that you wanted to, and you then repeat the cycle of once that becomes your comfort zone, you repeat the cycle again with every new skill that you want to learn. The next work is doing the boring work. I think this is very important because a lot of people think that the best way, and I really like this tweet, is the surest way to land sexy projects is doing all the unsexy ones with high agency and ownership. No one gets the best projects on their team just because they recently joined or they've done something in the past. You have to prove that you're worthy enough and you're good enough. And you do that by creating like a task that you have done in the past and showing that you're able to execute it in a really good way. So some examples could be doing very simple things as well. As if you're in a meeting, try to take meeting notes. Try to share those meeting notes with the team. Maybe you can take some user research and condense it and share the learnings with your PM partners or your engineering partners to share like what you've been doing. Or maybe even you can help your PMs create an executive deck that they've been trying to put together for their stakeholders or the leadership. So these are like some ways you can do like non-design work per se, but also can help you build more credibility and respect in the team. The next is knowing your stuff. I met a lot of designers who don't know what their company defines success as. What is the metrics that they're tracking? It could be product sales. It could be number of signups, time spent in the app, or something else. Like maybe you don't know. The best way is to ask someone from the data science team or someone from the user research team and try to find out what your company cares about. Second is learn about your business goals and your business model and the conversion funnel. Try to do like an analysis of how are the current customers being acquired. What are the steps that the customers have to go through in your app or your product? And if you get some analytics or some kind of dashboards, try to get that and try to take a look and develop that business understanding of how the business is growing and how can you like impact or how can you have that kind of authority to make sure that you understand and then contribute to that. And the third thing is Learn about your users. As designers, that is our bread and butter, right? We should know who our users are, and we should design for them. But still, I've met a lot of designers who don't meet their users in person or virtually even, or don't talk to the users. They just rely on other people's research to design. Uh, Try to find out time. Try to like meet with your actual users, and you'll realize so many new insights and so much information you'll gather that will really help you building that trust in the team that you're the person who knows what they're doing, and you can even share that with your PMs or your engineers as something that you found from your research. So moving on to the second pillar of influence, which is communication. Uh, a lot of times we think communication is simple, right? You're just good at speaking, or you're good at public speaking, or you can like say and people will believe what you're saying. But if you see all of these three examples on the left, on the right is Indra Nooyi, who is the CEO of Pepsi, Steve Jobs, and Obama. All of these are excellent communicators. I'm sure you might have seen some videos or some speeches or some talks of one of those, and you'll realize why are they so good. We don't want to be exactly like them, but some of the ways you can develop your own communication skill are these. First, starts with active listening. Listening is easy, right? You can just keep quiet and like just keep listening. But in actual reality, listening is very hard. Why? Because our mind tries to respond to someone as soon as they start saying something, and we easily find things to disagree on, or maybe even come up with our own emotional triggers that kind of impacts the conversation that we want to have. And if you want to be good at active listening, you have to be 100% present and give your undivided attention to someone. This is the minimum that you can do in a one-on-one or a team setting. Once I had gotten a feedback from my engineer that I was very distracted in team calls. Like I was doing something on the side, maybe reading documents, reading comments, or doing something else, which left, and they were presenting, so it felt like I was not paying attention, and that didn't build the right kind of trust that I wanted to build with the engineer. And from that day, I realized I would do this thing, is remove all the distractions. Even if I'm on a virtual call or on a real, like a one-to-one call, I'll try to make sure that my screen is always full screen, so I don't have other things coming up or popping in. And I always mute my other notifications so that does not like hamper the conversation that I'm trying to do. And the third thing, And the third thing is separating out facts, assumptions, and conclusions. So don't listen for the sake of listening. You don't want to just show that you're listening, but you also want to really understand what the other person is saying. One of the ways that I've seen people do is they use this framework where they say that when you say A, I assume B, so I conclude C. So in that way, you're not just listening to what they're saying, but you're also trying to dissect it and understand why they're saying what they're saying and what is your assumption and what do they actually mean. And you can also confirm with them if you want to. The second thing is expressing with clarity and conciseness. Yes, so taking pauses, structuring your message very logically, using simple language, not using a lot of jargons, and avoiding ambiguity in what you're saying is very important when you're communicating with your leadership or stakeholders or even your teammates. And one thing that really helps is preparation. And all the generalizations that people make about like preparation is all true, is that the more you prepare, the better equipped you are when you're in front of like a crowd or in front of your leaders. One way to do it is maybe you can write notes of what you're going to say, or you can also record yourself and see how does that come across. Is the message that you're trying to say is exactly what you want? And the third is tailoring your message to your audience. This is also very important. If you're talking to someone at a leadership level versus someone at, like let's say, a user who is external, the language, the way that you're communicating could be very different. You could be more technical with an engineer, but you want to make sure when you're talking to a user, you're empathetic and you understand what they're saying. Emotional intelligence. We've all heard about this word a lot of times. To me, it refers to the ability to drive positive outcomes without letting anyone else's or yours or anyone else's negative emotions come into way. Uh, we don't realize that in a work environment as well, we all go through a lot of emotions. We all have egos. We all have things that we want to get done. And it's always your ego versus my ego in these kind of conversations. And you want to make sure that you're able to drive positive outcomes and you are in check of what you're feeling and what other people are feeling as well. One thing to always expect and embrace is resistance. So not everyone will be 100% aligned with you all the time in all the meetings. Just expect that and make sure you take into consideration. And also try to understand your triggers. Like could be someone else's action and your interpretation of those action. What causes your, like if you can keep yourself in check and if you know yourself, your triggers, I think that really helps to be calm in if the situation is very hard or you're having like a difficult conversation. Also try to read other people's emotions early so that it doesn't get to that area where you're actually in conflict with other people and then there is disagreements and you don't want to stop the progress at that point. Having difficult conversations is also not easy, and you might face that as you grow in your career. The more you grow, the more difficult conversations you need to have with your PM partners, engineers, leaders. Like few tips that I have learned in my career is thinking about when someone is emotional or if you're emotional, try to ask yourself, is this the conversation I need to have at this point of time, or should I delay it, or should I do it later? What emotions do I need to actually like express to the person in front of me? Do I need to be vulnerable at this point? Could be good in certain situations where you want to show the vulnerability. Also could be that you want to not show at that point and try to understand yourself and what are you trying to say better and then convey it. Also try to, try to move from proving my point and saying that I'm always right to thinking about what is the point that I'm trying to say? Is it important at this point? And how would the conversation go in the long run? So you want to get into the learning zone where you're trying to learn what other person is saying and not just trying to prove yourself right or proving your point. The third thing is moving from a binary blame mode. Putting the blame on someone else is very easy, and as humans, we all have done that in the past. But try to ask yourself before putting the blame on someone, is there something that I'm responsible for that I didn't do and that caused the issue? Or what parts of it is something that is them versus me? And then what can we do differently and like work together in a contribution kind of a way where we are able to solve the issue. And moving to the third pillar, which is collaboration. So one does not simply make the team work without dream work, right? We've all seen all of these memes and all of the teamwork related messages and things like that. But in reality, this does not happen. In a recent survey conducted like last year, almost 37% of the people said that other people in my organization don't act as allies when the situation calls for it. So you can imagine more than 60% of the people are not allies with other people in their own company. And you don't want to be one of those. So you want to be a person who's able to prioritize the health of relationship of your teammates and yourself. Every relationship will have ups and downs. If you're working with a PM, if they don't agree with your designs, try to think of how can you bridge that gap. Sometimes also knowing them personally helps. Sometimes also prioritizing your personal relationship with them over some of the tactical works also helps. The design tactical work can happen in a later meeting. If there is a conflict, try to make sure that you're addressing that and trying to solve that. The second thing is functions overlap at senior levels. So if you see senior PMs, senior engineers, senior designers, all are trying to create a strategy for the team, all are creating a roadmap for the team. And a lot of times, if everyone has an ego among themselves that my idea is the best or my way is the right way, then a lot of conflicts start happening. So you want to make sure that you are aligned with other people in the team and you kind of work together in a more cohesive way. And third is meeting one-on-one with stakeholders. A lot of designers I've met don't do that, but you should definitely prioritize meeting one-on-one. And this is the time to actually support each other's career, right? If you're working with an engineer, you want to make sure that they understand where you're coming from. You can add some context on some of the designs that you're producing. Also, you can show sometimes vulnerability or things that you're going through that can help them understand your decisions a little bit better. And at the end, they're the folks who are going to give you some feedback in the end of the year, right? So you want to make sure you have the right relationship with them, and you're prioritizing and helping each other in each other's career and helping them giving good feedback. And one way to do it is, let's say your PM is stressed about an executive deck, and you offer to help them create a deck and then create the designs for it. So in that way, you can always build that relationship. Developing a facilitator mindset. So great ideas can come from anywhere. It can come from sales, marketing, or data science. And one thing that I've previously done is share ideas or designs very early with my engineers and PMs. And I've invited them to my critiques, or some of the things can be async or in different kind of settings. And they've been very diligent in raising red flags and telling us, or telling me personally, that this does not work or this is not the right thing to do. And that has helped me to even go to the drawing board and change the designs altogether. So I don't think that if I'm the designer, I should be the one making all the design decisions. It's the team's call, and everyone together contributes to it. And third thing is ownership is not teamship. So if you're an owner, it's not like you're owning all the ideas and you're kind of controlling everyone. It's a team ship. So everyone is a professional. They've been hired to do certain things that they're expert at. So try to leverage skills of other people, and then you can develop that kind of facilitator mindset where you're collecting other people's ideas and you're working with them, and then producing things as a group, not as like someone who's doing it individually. And the third thing is managing your manager. This is very important. If things are going well with you, try to show control over your current scope and goal. Try to show that people who are working with you, they love working with you, and your peers enjoy your collaboration with them. And share your wins with your manager very often. A lot of people don't do that. Try to make sure that you win their trust, that you're doing your work really well. If things are not going well, try to get their help early on. Don't get them blindsided that you're not doing well and they don't know about it. That might even hamper your career in a negative way. So get their feedback early on, get their ideas early on. And if you're doing something, like if you're doing a current role really well, think about how can you solve their problem for them. So maybe they have an idea of a product or a feature or something that they have been noodling on, but they didn't get the time to build it or think deeply about it. So what you can do is help them create ideas and help them build their ideas so that they see you as a trusted partner. And you can also leverage their peers, right? Your manager's peers are other managers or the leadership, so you can get their help in influencing some of the decisions that you want as well. And the last thing, and you have to do that all the time, is showing care and appreciation for your managers. Managers don't get a lot of love, which they deserve. They do a lot of things in the background, which we don't, as an IC, we don't know what they're doing. So make sure you tell them all the time that how much value they're bringing in your work and how are they making your lives easier. So with that, you can manage your manager in a better way. And that kind of brings me again to the end of my talk. 3 pillars of influence: credibility, communication, collaboration. And if there's a one takeaway, it's this. Being influential requires to think deeply about what you want and what others want. It's just not a win, like you win and they lose. It's a win-win situation. So try to think of what is your priority and what is their priority and try to bring that together. So with that, thank you everyone for listening so patiently.
Let's thank Rahul Jain for his insightful talk.